Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant, and today I have a set of 4 cards featuring the new Thank You Wishes stamp set. I'm using the embossed resist technique to stamp the large script thank you and then the coordinating smaller phrase greetings using Versamark ink, embossing it with white embossing powder, and then applying some distress ink colors over the top of those for that embossed resist. To start, I'm going to die cut that center panel from watercolor cardstock using the Dotted Detail Skinny Frame die. I'm actually only going to use the inside portion here. The reason I'm die cutting it with this die is because I am going to frame up my watercolor panel with a skinny frame die, and I want it to be the exact size. I'm going to die cut 4 of these, so I have 4 of those watercolor panels. I'm also going to die cut that skinny frame die from white cardstock, smooth white cardstock. I'm using the Nina cardstock. And then I will be doing an inlay style on the actual card itself. Once I have all 4 of those inside panels for the embossed resist, I'm going to lay out my thank you greeting and then a smaller phrase, kind of see where I want to put it. I'm going to use the powder bag tool over that so that the embossing powder sticks only to the stamped image. Ink up my stamp with Versamark ink and then stamp that right there, kind of in the center at an angle on that rectangle. I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder now so that I can see where I've already stamped so I don't accidentally overlay the smaller phrase. It's a little hard to see since it's white on white. Hopefully you can kind of see that a little bit when I hold it at an angle. Then I will take that smaller phrase. There's a bunch of great coordinating phrases from the Thank You Wishes stamp set. I'll ink up one of those and then stamp it there in the lower right corner of this panel. Again, I'm going to sprinkle on that white embossing powder, take that over, and then use my heat gun on that to emboss that. Next, I'm going to take 3 colors of distress ink and apply them sort of at an angle on this panel. I'm going to start my first one with the Festive Berries distress ink. I'm going to move on to the Picked Raspberry distress ink and finish with the Spun Sugar distress ink in the lower right corner. I'm following the design of the greeting where I've stamped it kind of at an angle there. I kind of wanted to follow that same kind of look with my distress inks. I'm purposely creating an ombre effect using similar colors, so it's going from red to pink on this first panel. Finish off this bottom corner with my Spun Sugar distress ink. I am using that paper towel to kind of keep my fingers out of the ink because otherwise you will see some finger marks. And making sure to blend each of those colors into one another really, really well so that I get a really natural transition of color. Now once I have that, I'm going to take my distress sprayer and spritz this panel with water out of the distress sprayer. I'm going to let it sit for 30 to 40 seconds and then blot that dry with a dry paper towel. And it's going to give me an awesome effect in the background. You want to make sure and buff any of that ink that might be sitting on top of the embossing with your paper towel as well. I did go back over that corner with a little bit of the Spun Sugar because I felt a little too much of it picked up when I applied the water. And then I'll set that aside to dry. For the next panel, I am combining Peacock Feathers, the Cracked Pistachio, and Twisted Citron distress inks. This is one of my favorite ink combinations. I just love these colors anyway, so I love the transition of kind of that aqua to green. Again, I'm going to make sure that I get a really nice natural transition of color from dark to light. You can see when I first put the color down, it often you can definitely see that definition or line where the colors meet. So I'll go back over with each of my ink blending tools to make sure that is a nice seamless transition. And again, I'm going to take the distress sprayer, spritz this with water, let it sit for 30 to 45 seconds, and then blot it dry with a dry paper towel. Got to get everything out of the way before I spritz that with some water. The water is going to work with the Distress inks by wicking away from where those ink splatters are, which is what leaves you with that really great distressed background. I love when you pick it up and see the magic of how it looks. Now, there were a couple places that were too light, so I did again go over them with my ink blending tools just a little bit. And then I want to buff off that embossing so that no ink is sitting on top of that. I did add a little bit more water to that lower left or lower right corner rather, because I added some more ink. And then again, I will pick that up. And I like that a little bit better. For my next color combination, I am using the Squeezed Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin, and Abandoned Coral Distress inks. And this one I started with my light color and then went to my darkest color. So in that lower right corner is the Squeezed Lemonade, and then the Carved Pumpkin is in the center, which is one of the new colors this year. Or not this year, I guess in 2015. I'm going to blend those two together. And then Abandoned Coral was also a new color in 2015, and I'm going to finish with that in the upper left corner. So just blend each of these together. I love the magic of Distress inks and the different color combinations and looks you can get by combining these. I just absolutely love my Distress inks. They're probably one of my most used tools in my craft room, and I can't say enough great things about them with all the different techniques you can use or get when you use Distress inks. I'm going to spritz this one with water as well. Each of my panels is the exact same style. The only thing different is that small greeting in the bottom right corner. I used a different one for each one just to kind of mix it up a little bit. They're all thank you greetings. With that yellow where it's so light, I did go back in and add a little bit more of that Squeezed Lemonade, and then I'll buff off any of that ink off the embossing so that it's nice bright white. And that upper left corner didn't get very much water splotches, so again I spritzed it. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit and then blot that dry to really get a great distress look. Again, I'm going to set that one to the side, and I'm going to work on my last panel, which is going to be Shades of Purple. For this one, I'm going to start with my milled lavender distress ink in the bottom right corner, which is going to be my lightest color. And then I will move on to the Seedless Preserves distress ink for my kind of mid-tone color, and finish with the Dusty Concord ink. You could use any color combinations that you like. I definitely went for kind of bold and bright for mine. Go ahead and blot this one dry. Once these are completely dry, I am ready to start putting the cards all together. I'm going to take some side fold white note cards from Simon Says Stamp and adhere each of these panels right in the center of these note cards. I'm going to do this on all four. Then I'm going to take a glue pen and draw a line all the way around the edges, because I'm going to take those really skinny dotted detail frames from the Mama Elephant Dotted Detail die collection and place that right around my embossed resist center of my card. You can use something heavy like acrylic blocks to hold that frame down while the glue dries. So again, I'm just going to take some adhesive, secure that panel to the center of each of my cards, draw a thin line of glue all the way around, and add that dotted detail really skinny frame, which I love that it doesn't take away from the center of the card, but it does add a little bit of texture and interest and frames up the center of the card really nicely, because that skinny frame has some little tiny dots in it. Draw my line of glue, attach that frame, and then I will finish off all of my cards with a scattering of Pretty Pink Posh sequins. For this, I kept to the same colors that I used for the Distress inks. So I tried to use similar colors. So I'm going from dark to light with that darker orange to the more orange, and then yellow. And I did that for each of my cards. Thanks for watching this video showcasing the Mama Elephant Thank You Wishes stamp set. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more Mama Elephant videos you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.